it's Jacob, and tonight I am going to be showing you how I made my girlfriend's 1-year anniversary gift, which, as you can tell from that clip, was actually way more stressful and complicated than I thought it'd be, and actually kind of a nightmare at some points, so let me take you through it. First things first, I gave you a little fit check there. Those New Balances are literally the only nice thing I own, but that is me choosing music or not choosing music because I have no good songs right now. Give me any recommendations if you have any, but the real first step was picking up these photos I ordered from CVS, and this was also my first mistake. So this is probably where I should tell you that my plan for this project was to pick one photo from each of the 12 months we've been dating and put it together in a collage. As you could tell from that clip a few seconds ago, I ordered 44 pictures because I couldn't decide which ones I liked the most, and that would turn out to be a fatal error. Anyways, now we're at Michael's. It's basically just a crafts and supply store. This is me standing next to what I thought I was going to use, which is a 24 by 36 sized frame. As you can tell, way too fucking big. My girlfriend actually doesn't even live here. We're long distance, so I realized when I walked in and started looking at these frames that I was going to have to mail whatever I ended up putting together to her. And so I started looking at these pre-built collage frames, and they were all ugly in my opinion, and none had 12 slots, so this is where the panic started to set in. I started looking at 22 by 28 frames and holding up the pictures to them to see if I could make them work like I am doing in this video clip here. I ordered 4 by 6 photos, but I have had, I guess, because I'm done now, vertical and horizontal photos, so I had to figure out a way to make them fit within these dimensions and not just be a total clusterfuck, because, you know, there needs to be some spacing and some aesthetics to this, which is not my forte. So now I'm trying them out on a 20 by 30, and I am slowly starting to realize that this is not going to be as easy as I thought it was, and I'm starting to panic. You can see it in that clip. You can definitely see it in this clip. And so I thought to myself, okay, let me get some inspiration. Let me get on Etsy and see what people are selling, and let me try to recreate it. So this is me scrolling Etsy and getting more pissed off because I'm realizing, like, this is way harder than I thought it'd be, and maybe I should have just had something pre-ordered and had somebody else do it. But I think part of what makes this fun and meaningful is that I'm making it myself. And so at this point I started looking at canvases, got overwhelmed, and I came to the bathroom and stared in the mirror like I'm the Joker, because I really felt like I was about to lose my shit. But then I realized I am in the land of opportunity. I am in this massive warehouse of arts and crafts and supplies. I can make this work. And thank God I found this frame, 13.5 by 40, because as I was telling myself I could make it work, I was already planning some sort of backup, but I walked past this frame. I ran the numbers. I figured it wouldn't be too expensive to ship. I put some photos up against it, and I decided that I could make it work. But as a backup plan, I bought just a single 4 by 6 frame that I was going to put my favorite picture of us in, just in case this didn't work out. So after that, I got some poster board material to use as the backing for the photos. I filmed myself loading up my car because I'm some kind of wannabe influencer now, and I took a massive sigh of relief because I felt like I had a plan that was feasible. Now I just had to execute it. At this point, I switched to my other camera. I was using a Canon G7X before, but this one's nicer and easier to set up. This is me setting it up and realizing I'm in the most sus position of all time. But I wanted to be able to show you guys how I did this, and I thought this was the best angle for that. So first step, obviously tear off the plastic and see what we're working with. I have done some kind of photo thing for my girlfriend before, and I was really easy to make the plastic covering extremely dirty. That's actually my girlfriend called me in the middle of making this, and I had to act like I wasn't doing anything, but she could absolutely tell I was doing something. But anyways, back to this plastic covering. I was going to clean it with Windex, and then I read that you should just use warm soap and water, but the last time I tried to do something with a plastic covering, I got it really dirty, and I had a hell of a time cleaning it up, so I just decided to do that work first and make sure that I could just focus on the photos and not having just a disgusting looking frame. So I took my time with this. I think I also decided to spend a lot of time on this step because I was intimidated by putting this whole thing together and really by having to pick the photos I was going to use, so I just kind of procrastinated. But at this point, I started cutting the poster board material that I bought to make it fit within the 13.5 by 40. I think the poster board size was 22 by 28, so it was wide enough, but it was not long enough. This is me realizing how fucking dumb I am, because I should be using some sort of ruler to line up the cut instead of trying to do it by eyeballing it, because I have also done that before and it's ended catastrophically. So this is me not being a caveman and using a ruler, because I am a smart, intelligent man who knows how to use basic tools. And yeah, so I started lining up 13.5 inches. What I was trying to explain before is that the poster boards were wide enough but not long enough, so I needed two. And this was kind of the second issue, is that I was going to have to cut them together to match the size of the photo frame, but not make it look like I just taped two pieces of poster board together, because obviously you can see where one ends and the other begins. But at this point, I'm just trying not to fuck up the actual cutting of the first one, because I only bought two pieces of poster board material, and if I mess up and have to go back to Michael's, chances are you would probably never hear from me again. So I attempted to be very diligent with this step, and once again took my sweet ass time because I was stressed out about picking photos. So now I'm lining it up. I am finally committing to making the cuts. For some reason, the cut lines I drew were with dark blue inked pen, which is probably just the worst decision you could make. And thank God it wasn't see-through, this poster board material, or that would have really cooked me. But I want to bring this, like, I guess, gripe I have with scissors up. They never cut on the actual line. They always cut like an eighth of an inch to the left or to the right, depending on where you're cutting. They're literally never centered on the line you're cutting on. Maybe I'm just an idiot and I never do arts and crafts, and that's just obvious, but it's hard to cut along the actual line because where the scissors cut actually ends up being a little bit to the left or the right, depending on where you're lined up. Anyways, I got this first set down, except I didn't, because I started to kind of get off track with the line and ended up making the poster board a little wider than it needed to be. And so then I was trying to shave off like a half an inch, which if you've ever had to take off a really minimal amount of a piece of paper, it's just a fucking nightmare. And so it took forever, but now that I had this one good piece, I could use it to cut the other piece. And so at this point, the ruler wasn't really holding on, so I used the photo frame to line up my cut. Why am I spending so much time cutting the fucking paper? It really shouldn't have been as hard as this, but yeah, I just did not want to have to go back and get new paper. So this is me with the two pieces complete, looking at the frame to make sure it looks good. But as you can see, there is very clearly two pieces of paper in there. So there are very clearly two pieces of paper in there. So I decided to flip-flop and add an extra inch to one using the leftover paper I had to kind of make that line not very noticeable. And now here's what it looks like. I think it looks better. You can still kind of tell, but I decided, first of Etsy store owner who can make perfect photo collages. It is what it is, but I would also use photos to cover those lines up. And this is where the really tough decisions begin, because, as I said earlier, I had 44 photos to work with, and only 12, actually, not even 12, only 11 that could make it into the collage, because I'm saving the 12th spot for a photo that we're going to take on our actual anniversary. I thought that would be cute, so yeah, I made some painstaking decisions, but I ultimately just ended up going with the ones that were my favorite, and ones that I knew she liked, because, I don't know, I mean, of course that's what I did. What the fuck else was I gonna do? I chose photos that I thought we'd both like. No kidding. My god. So, at this point, I started lining up the photos and trying to choose the best order and sequencing from them. And at some point during this process, I realized that I was missing photos from November, and I attempted to not have an insane breakdown, and I just took a break by putting a photo in that 4x6 frame I bought as a backup, just so I knew I did something right. And this is where I broke out the double-sided tape, which is an absolute lifesaver, except for the fact that if you put it on your carpet while you are taping things together, the tape will pick up every single piece of air that has ever fallen on your carpet. So it did that, and I spent quite a few minutes just pulling random fabric and materials and my own little bits of air off the tape, but the collage was starting to come together at this point, and I was feeling better about things. You can kind of tell how it looks from up here. If you're wondering why the photos are blurry, I blurred them out on purpose, just for privacy reasons. I hope you can forgive me not wanting to air out my relationship's most intimate moments on a YouTube video. If you can, I'm really sorry, but yeah, you can still kind of get the vibe. I just added a slight blur, but I was just really trying to make sure I didn't fuck up the spacing here, because I did not want it to look cluttered. I wanted it to look intentional and aesthetic, and like something that she would be proud to have up, because even if it's just a special thing that I made for her, I wanted it to look good. So I think I got to a place where it did look good. I actually had to take it back apart after that first look and fix a photo at the bottom, because the frame kind of overlaps the paper a little bit, and I put a photo too far to the left, and it was actually covered by a little bit of the frame. Basically, the poster backing is a little wider than the actual frame itself. So I realigned that photo, and you can see in the bottom left there, it's really the bottom right, but there's an open spot. So at this point, I felt like, okay, I'm pretty much done. I feel good about it. I've got this other photo of us that looks really good, and I love it, and I am obsessed with this girl, and this is the greatest relationship ever. And the collage, it's not, I don't know, I always feel like I could have done better with no matter what I do, but I felt pretty good about it. Here's kind of a good look at how it turned out. Yeah, that is basically the whole story. Thanks for watching. I'll go for a couple seconds even though we're in the dark now. I'd love to know what you guys think about this style of video. It's something different, but I was getting kind of tired of just sitting and whispering,